This is Chuck Billy from Testament right here on Diablos in Podcastica.
Welcome to Diablos in Podcastica with Toomey and Wadzilla.
All right, guys, let's welcome back to the show. Chuck Billy of Testament. Great new album out today, April 3rd. Titans of Creation. Chuck, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Better now than I was a few weeks ago.
Well, that is good. That is good. So I'm assuming the coronavirus is going through you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but we're on the mend now, I'd say. I'd say for the first 12 days or so, yeah, we felt sick. And we're sick and just had to kind of ride it out. They didn't give us any medication for anything.
Well, I was gonna say that the most likely scenario was your Big Chief products is probably what got you through it, and probably the cure for the coronavirus, right?
Well, it does help.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Well, I am kind of I'm almost surprised that you're doing the interviews, because when I saw the diagnosis, I was like, well, I guess these interviews probably won't go as planned, but I guess you're doing them.
Well, I had some starting like last week when I wasn't feeling good at all, and I got canceled some.
Yeah.
But once I started feeling better, feeling more like myself, having energy, because I swear, for a few weeks it was, headaches and a lot of sleep, just trying to just ride it out. But once I started feeling good, I was like, I might as well start talking to people, and the record's coming out, and I'm sure people would love to hear about what's going on. And
the last thing on that, just I guess seeing, other people in the music business, music industry, and just, I guess your average Joes too, kind of succumbing to this. I guess you kind of feel like you're on the lucky side of the whole thing.
Well, yeah, but it's weird the way it just all kind of unfolded on us. We were in Europe touring and watching things start to escalate. We had Italy show cancel, couldn't get in there. And then we had Germany, the last show, cancel.
Yeah.
And, we flew home. We ended the tour, thankfully. But, we were just watching everything get a little worse and escalate a little more and more. And we're worried about getting home and back into the U.S. And, none of us felt sick as we left Europe. It's just right when we got home, within like a 24-hour window, everybody was starting to have symptoms of feeling ill.
Yeah.
And they were all pretty common with all of us. And so it was just kind of weird watching it just kind of escalate. And then when we got home, of course, we wanted to be proactive, so we called our doctors and tried to find out where we can test, after explaining where we've been and what we've done and our exposure to a lot of people all over. And of course, you can't get tested unless you have symptoms.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of a pain. A few days later, once we really started feeling pretty bad, that's when they got us in to test. But, it's just wild the way we watched it go down and to get caught up in it, and then actually to get home and get sick. It was just like, holy smokes, just kind of catch you off guard. We thought at first, maybe it's just jet lag, getting home a little tired, but once you started feeling sick and couldn't stay awake and the headaches, it's like, man, something's up.
Well, with the news of you getting out, obviously the outcry of support and compassion and everything had to have felt great.
Oh, it was a great feeling.
Yeah.
I just felt that it was kind of like almost our duty to say something. Fortunately, we've got home off the road and we're isolated right away.
Yeah.
So we haven't really seen anybody, but we're. It's definitely a nasty sickness and illness, and the thing is you don't know. We're starting to feel better, but I wouldn't say I'm 100%. So I don't know, am I contagious still, or
yeah,
I don't know. But I know Steve, our bass player, just tested on Thursday and got his results back, and they're positive.
Oh wow!
And that's after a couple of weeks, being sick. So it made us think, like, are we still ill and contagious, even though the doctors and CDC told us that, go ahead and go to the store, go out, wear masks. but you just don't know we don't know if, if we're ill or not.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy. And I guess with him getting the positive diagnosis, I mean, does that, typical of releasing would be some sort of shows, and, a lot of people are doing some online stuff, some cyber shows, But I mean, I guess with him, testing positive too, I guess you guys can't even really get around each other right now.
Yeah, we can't even do that. We don't know anything and can't travel, out across the country. Gene's down in San Diego. So we couldn't even get together if we wanted. But, yeah, definitely things changed. The record came out. We decided that we wanted to stick with the release date and not push it back or hold it up, and just the game plan and give people, while they have a lot of time on their hands, something new.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, Titans of Creation out now, and everybody that's heard it, heard pieces of it, heard a couple of songs off of it, including myself, are just absolutely in love with it. The last few Testament releases have been, just milestones of the career type stuff. And, what do you kind of contribute that to? The longer the band goes on, almost the better the albums get.
Well, I mean, I think we're definitely focused on songwriting and writing for ourselves. We're definitely not in competition with what's going on currently in all the bands. I hear a lot of stuff. When I listen to radio or Sirius, there's a lot of stuff that's similar. And, fortunately for us, we've stuck to what Testament is and sounds like, and we actually developed, I think, from the Gathering record to where we're at now, more of a defined direction and sound is where we're at today. And I think maybe it has something to do with just process, the way we create records now in the recent years. I think it's made us a little more challenged. We went into the studio on like Brotherhood and on this record without demos being done or songs being completed. We had a lot of stuff and just kind of went in the studio and kind of just came with whatever came with a gut reaction. And we kind of stuck with the first impulse, when we first listened to songs and tried to write vocal patterns. And a lot of that stuff stuck. So I think a lot of it was that we just didn't really have a lot of time to second guess or, sit there and listen, overreact to it. So it was pretty spontaneous on the spot, a lot of the stuff. And, maybe that has something to do with just the writing and the songs and the way, just the creativity a little bit, the way the songs came out. Because the songs definitely have their own identities. There's a lot of different flavors on the record, which I guess gives it a pretty dynamic sound as a record as a whole.
Well, I reviewed the album for my other show recently, and we were talking about how if you're a fan of any era of the band, you're going to find stuff in this album that you like. If you liked the demonic era, there's some growly vocals here and there, and the low era and thrash era. There's so many things that make up the Testament sound that are on this album.
Right. Yeah, and there's some new stuff. I mean, I would say Eric chose some probably not typical chords that he would choose for a metal riff. A lot of metal riffs are in E. And it really challenged me vocally trying to come up with stuff, because typically I would challenge him on the music and say, oh no, change that or rewrite that or make that, make it a little more easier for me. But this time I didn't. I kind of just took what he gave me and did my best, and it really challenged me, and I think I pushed me outside of my comfort zone vocally, and I did some things on this record that, even after so many records doing it, like on songs like City of Angels, I found a different texture of voice and did some harmonies on that. And I don't never do that kind of shit, but
yeah,
after 13 albums, we're still trying to find and do and experiment with new stuff, and it feels kind of good when you accomplish it.
Well, how do you approach that? That was actually a question I had for you, was how do you approach, writing to thrash when a lot of it is in E? And so the key of E is kind of always there for you. So you're like, oh God, here we go again. Another open E chuggy riff, that I have to come up with something to. Well,
that's what a lot of this record started developing its own identities and flavors and him picking those chords. And like I said, typically I would probably fight him on it. This time I didn't. I kind of just said, all right, it feels different right now. I'm maybe not getting it, but I'm going to sit and soak it up for, a month or two until it really comes out. That's really the way it works. I'll just really listen to the song a gazillion times, and then finally it kind of writes itself. The pattern becomes apparent to me, and just once I start finding the hook and the timing, and then I just so on this one, like I said, there was some choices of chords that I probably would have fought him on, but I didn't. So that's this time around, I think that's just made the record even stand out. The songs, I guess, stand out just a little more because they are so unique.
And another thing you said in there too is where you were listening to, you listen to Sirius XM or you listen to podcasts, you listen to the newer bands coming out, and you realize that, you don't have to compete with an I Prevail. You can be Testament, and there are Testament fans, and Testament at this point in the career needs to sound like Testament and not sound like the flavor of the week.
Yeah, we're lucky that we've been doing that. I listen to bands on there that are like heavy as shit, and I go, man, that sounds so killer. But we can't try to go do that now and try to like mimic something. Kind of got to stick to what we do, and I think we've defined kind of what we've accomplished, what our sound is at this point. Especially in the songs and everything, and it feels really good live. I think more of the current stuff we've been writing over the last 4 or 5 records, a lot of those songs are in the set just because they're just something about the newer songs just have a better feeling live. We rehearse to pick songs for a tour. Those ones always seem real solid, really quick,
And the current incarnation of the band, with Gene and Stevie D and Eric, and then obviously Alex Skolnick on guitar, it seems like the band is in a really good spot, for their last couple albums too. Do you feel that way too?
Just as a band, but just as friends, we got a really good team of people that work with us, and and it's like a family. So when we go on the road, it's a family that's out working together with one cause, and we make it, everybody's very comfortable, and we don't have fights in the bands. We don't have arguments. I think it's lucky that we all get along well. We'll all have our opinions, but never escalates into arguments. So that's a big part, living with someone as much as we're on the road. And I have to live with somebody that many days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the nice thing about Testament now is, Gene can go off and be a drummer for a cartoon band, and Alex can do his Alex Skolnick trio, and Eric can do his side stuff too. It just seems like everyone's on the same page. But then, if you have downtime, you can go do some other stuff too. You don't necessarily have to be living, breathing 100% Testament all the time.
No, I gotta go do Metal Allegiance or something there. There's always something, but I think we've learned that you can't be a band that limits creativity. Like, some bands like, oh, you can't play, you only got to be in this band. That's kind of the wrong attitude or approach, especially for a longevity of a band. I think we learned early on with Alex, want to get out there and do different things and interested in jazz, and you didn't get to do that. So I think, we've learned now that people need to express themselves, not just with metal. We all go out and tour a lot and make a living off of the band, but there's other things once you're off the road to go do and express yourself and get out of your system, or get it in your system, whatever you want to do.
Touring on the last Slayer tour, did that influence this album at all? Just to kind of see that so many nights in a row of things? Yeah.
I think the headspace, because we were ready to write the record before that tour. And then the tour came along, and that kind of, held up the process of getting the record written. But we knew once that tour was done that we were taking 9 months off solid just to work and write, get the record done. So I think we were probably in a better headspace coming off of that tour, and just the vibe and, just the essence of Slayer and the old friendships. So, I think that maybe prepared us when we were ready to write, because we wrote this record a lot quicker than the last one.
And with the writing of the lyrics, I know that did Zet help you on this one too?
Yeah, Zet wrote a song on this one, and my friend Del.
When you go into that process, you kind of go to those guys and be like, I'm hearing a song about, the Richard Ramirez on this or anything like that. Do you have like this song makes me feel this way? You got some lyrics in that way?
Sometimes it just starts with, let's listen to it and find a pattern, or like it all depends. With Zet, it's more like that, where I'll send them the riff and we'll listen and try to discover a pattern and timing. And then once we've discovered that, we'll get together and talk about the topic and then just go right at it. With my friend Del, when I go to LA, I have a lot of that worked out. The story, the topic, the timing, and so then when I work with him, it's a different process where I'm mumbling along the patterns as we're working out the lyrics. Or with Zet, we just get down and listen and we just start writing. We know the timing and how many words and syllables, whatever we need here and there. Yeah. And we just go at it quick. So it's two different processes when I write with those guys. And
the announced, unannounced Eddie Trunk release stuff today with the Judas Priest Iron Maiden tour. Anything to that?
Oh, that's a killer. I wish I was on that.
You might be. What does the rest of the year hold for you guys? I mean, do you guys kind of have to just wait out the coronavirus and see what happens?
Well, we're kind of waiting to see what happens in Europe. We know America, the tour in April and May definitely is going to be off. And I know we're going to do an announcement for a reschedule sometime towards the end of the year. That'll happen. We have a tour where a few festivals in Europe have canceled, so we're just kind of waiting to see what happens in that case. But we're not holding our breath. I have a feeling they'll probably cancel. So hopefully, in the books, hopefully we're back to normal by September, at the end of the year, and if not, then, you're going to have to start thinking of different things and ways to perform and play. And I don't know, it's going to be, an odd year. It
already is an odd year. It's, with even, a couple authors I've had on here, they're having to kind of resort to doing Facebook Live reads, and, bands are trying to figure out different avenues, which, it might, in the long run, might end up being, kind of cool. Like if you guys can figure out if you can, do a Facebook Live show and, play in front of a few 100,000 people at one time, right. You're like, maybe you add a date to the tour like that or something. You never know.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's going to start putting their heads together and figure out options and things to do. And, it's something's going to happen.
Well, like I said, man, at the top of this, Titans of Creation, another masterpiece by you guys, out now. So make sure you guys out there are getting it. And we'll just leave off with the track off the new album. What would you like us to play?
Why don't we play Symptoms, since it seems relevant with today's topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chuck, man, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.